going to be talking about A/B testing. Get these questions all the time around what is A/B testing in emails, how does it work, how to approach it. So I'm going to walk through this, but basically what is A/B testing is something I hear all the time. How do I do it? How do I make my emails better? What should I be testing? When should I be testing? These are questions that are coming across all the time because it's a really fascinating topic for marketers because it's sexy, it's exciting, it's made really popular by businesses like Google and Facebook that are, again, constantly testing, constantly evolving, and constantly iterating. So how do I kind of take some of that magic and bring it into what I'm doing in email because I have an audience I can reach out to and it helps me understand, am I getting better? Am I getting worse? And basically, am I winning or losing? A/B testing an email is testing multiple variables or variations of an email to understand which is working best. It's like some people may call it split testing, but it really does, at the end of the day, provide concrete evidence for what's working, what's not, and gives you the insights and data you need to move forward and understand your audience better, to drive the actions you want to create better, and then also to, at the end of the day, drive the business outcome you want to see. So this is a way that as marketers, we're able to understand, hey, how well am I creating the behavior I want to see? Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're shooting for is we want to create some type of behavior and we want to see that outcome at the end of it. And when we can improve those outcomes over time, that's where A/B testing really is kind of a secret weapon for a lot of marketers. Okay, so what are the benefits of A/B testing? Basically, like I say this all the time, in God we trust, everybody else must bring data. Basically, this allows marketers to take things from what may be a kind of a subjective conversation to a little bit more objective. This allows us to collect consistent data and understand how well something is performing versus another option, and allows us to kind of hone and tailor our marketing to optimize it for performance. And then it allows us to kind of iterate and evolve to continually improve and drive that behavior we want to see. So this can kind of be a sandbox for testing and evolving other areas of your marketing. If you know something's working really well in the email marketing side of things, you may understand, hey, I can bring this over to social, or I may be able to bring this over to actual website. So those are things that you can take from your A/B testing in email and start to apply in different areas. But basically, it's helping you understand what's working, what's not, and really start to drive your marketing efforts in the right direction. And again, knowing you're doing it well really helps and really gives you a lot more solid foundation to do that as opposed to more subjective reasoning or subjective insights. Okay, so now we know the benefits. Where are we going to A/B test in our email marketing? So this is kind of one of those next steps is, hey, where do I A/B test? And basically the two areas where you can really focus that attention is testing in campaigns and testing in automations. Going to touch on campaigns first, then get to automations later. But basically these both tie back to what actions you want to drive and what behavior you want to create. So basically we want to understand, hey, how do we create the behavior we want to see? Um, for a campaign, basically understanding, hey, is this going to be a pre-send test, basically a test that you're going to send before you send to your broad audience, but to possibly a small sample ahead of time to understand what's going to work well to get to reach that specific audience. So basically sending to one variation to 10%, another variation to another 10% for a certain window of time, and then sending to the broad audience after that. So 20% of people get those tests, and then 80% of people get the winner of that test. It's a really easy way for people to understand, hey, what's working, what's not, and then it gives that marketer a chance to kind of make sure that you're going going to the plate with the best option for you. There's also an option for time-based sending or a discovery send, basically understanding, hey, is my send going to hit at the right time? So it may send, you may test up to 24 different times in a specific day to understand when is my audience going to be engaged, when are they going to activate, are they going to activate differently on the weekends versus during the week when their schedules may be different? But basically understanding, hey, when am I going to be able to most effectively reach this audience and drive that behavior, which is really important and really powerful to be able to understand. So after you've gotten kind of that pre-sending done, basically you can start to understand what inside or what variables do I want to actually test in that email. Basically, if you're starting from scratch, understanding, hey, you may not have a good understanding of your audience and what times or what actions are going to drive them. If you have a really great understanding, you may be able to start farther down. But starting with subject lines and preview text, like this is kind of an easy, warm, fuzzy place to start. It's not going to be the most effective or like in driving conversions, but basically getting that email opened and clicked on is going to be really important. So understanding what's going to work for you, what's not, is going to be a great place to start. So subject line, preview text, driving opens. Is it going to be adding emojis to the header? Is it going to be adding quotes? Is it going to be adding social proof? Are you going to have a discount in the header? Those are things that you may want to, that can start off that process with. But when you have a better insight around your audience, that may not be as effective. And if those tests are not, again, resulting in differences that are material enough to justify them, you may want to move to something else from there. But once you have a good understanding of your audience, you won't have to focus on subject lines or previews as much, because we'll get to a little bit more about that in automations. From there, you have a lot of other options. You can add personalization, not add personalization. You can have a plain text version of an email that drives some behavior versus a HTML version of an email. If you want more about that, we have a lot more about that. You may test different versions of content inside, like maybe one's going to have text, one's going to have an image. Which is going to be better to work. You may have different call to action on your button. So all these different variables that you may see on your email, they may all just stack up differently. I want to start off with text. Does this want to be a plain text email from a person, have a CTA in it with a button, maybe no CTA, and a sign off from a person? Or do I want to have, again, a headline, an image, a call to action, some other text in there, some clarifying insights, and then maybe a few buttons for a secondary or a secondary call to action? What do I want inside that email that I can say, hey, this is a primary behavior I want to drive, this is a secondary behavior I want to drive, and how effective is that going to be at doing that? So like X offer versus X offer. Those are ways that we can narrow down what's working, what's not, and get better insights around our audience. So at the end of the day, these perform better and these drive the behavior we want to see. So like, again, if you're doing a segmented send by time zone, so it's going to be 8 o'clock p.m. for each of your audiences based on wherever they're located, you're not going to be able to offer the same level of A/B test functionality. And typically, if we know the timing is going to be relevant or valuable for them, I typically like, once we understand enough about that audience, to leverage the headlines and preview text and content inside the email that we've learned from our automations and from our previous work, to use inside there to make sure that we're going to be sending at the most accurate time for that audience. So again, this is kind of where you're using all the information you're gathering over time and then leveraging that in campaigns once you have that information to use. Early on, when you may not have that context or have that information, you don't have that luxury. But once you do, you want to be leveraging that data early, so you make sure that, hey, if I can get a 28% open rate and a like 3% click rate when I'm sending at 8 p.m. versus a like 25% open rate and a 2% click rate when I'm A/B testing an email, I know I'm going to be sending at 8 p.m. all the time, because I know that that's going to be the right time. And that time also plays a big factor into where somebody is in that moment, if it's going to be relevant, if it's going to get buried under a bunch of other emails. So understanding the context of that person's behavior, understanding what the timing, and making sure it's right and accurate, so it's not going to get buried or misread. It's going to meet the context of the moment and going to be valuable at that time. That's what I'm going to shoot for after I have that preliminary information and data. So I'm not necessarily A/B testing campaigns a lot later in that process, once I know my audience to a certain extent, and then I'm rinsing and repeating and improving from there. But typically, once you have kind of that base level of data, you can leverage that a lot of different ways, and then you're not necessarily doing all of your testing inside of campaigns. You're doing a lot of it in automations and leveraging that insight in your campaigns. The second part of that is, how do I use A/B testing in my email automations? This is kind of where I think the real magic is. And this is where I think I think a lot can be missed here, but I think it's really where you're going to be doing biggest heavy lifting in terms of insight gathering, and this should really be your petri dish for understanding your audience and the insights behind it. Hey, how do I inform other areas of my email marketing? And then how do I even inform my campaigns or even my website with what I'm seeing here? So basically, this allows you to automate what different audiences are going to see in a more consistent and coherent way. So you're not time based, you're not like really anything based, you're really behavior based. So when somebody exhibits one behavior, they get an email. That email is working to drive them to another behavior. So you have a few different opportunities where those automations are really triggered based on a specific action, specific behavior. So you can understand what's working, what's not, and how you can start to drive the behavior you want to see faster. So starting here, understanding at the high level what behavior you want to see, then understanding, hey, do I want to test for something inside that email, or do I want to test for something structural within that automation? So inside the email, you may be starting with, again, subject line and preview text to make sure it gets open, make sure it gets clicked on, so it can start driving. If it doesn't get open, doesn't get clicked on, it's not really doing it's not really going to do anything for you. So that's kind of table stakes. You may test plain text versus HTML email, and you can just, again, have those go to 50%, 50% of your audience and 50% to another audience. Those are really easy to do for all of this. You may test the content inside. Again, if it's written content or is it images, you may test button text. What's your audience engaging with? What's driving that call to action? So all of those same variables you could test in again, HTML in the campaign. And again, a few different rounds of this is going to be important. So starting off with month 1, you may be testing or a subject line and preview text. Month 2, you may be testing different versions like a plain text and or a HTML email. But basically, every time you're improving and evolving these, it gives you an opportunity to add on to what you knew before and push that farther and farther into that improvement in performance and improvement of optimization. Again, depending on your audience or how fast you're getting data, it may take longer or shorter, and then you can really use this to understand what's going to work, what's not. From there, inside that actual automation too, you can test, hey, maybe I want to send 50% of this to one audience, 50% to the other audience. Maybe 50% gets an email after 2 hours, 50% may get an email after 4 hours. Which one of those works better? This gives me insights into how that's going to work at a structural level. So I can say, hey, at 2 hours, we want to follow up sooner than later because we're seeing a lot better performance at 2 hours than we are at 4 hours. We may want to test the number of emails a particular audience gets in a specific sequence. So are they getting 6 emails versus are they getting 5 emails? How well and effective are we doing in terms of our messaging? What timing are we going to hit that? Are we going to reach out to them with? What incentives or what offers are going to be inside of those emails? So like one audience may get an offer. One audience may not get an offer. How are we going to change those, or how does a $5 value differ from a free gift with purchase? All those things are something we can test and understand and measure. And then even what structure do we want to go with our cadence? Like, do we want to send an SMS message into there? Again, complete curveball sometimes, but it can drive that behavior in a little bit different way. Basically allows us to get a more and more granular level of insight into what's going to work, what's not, and how to drive the goal behavior we want to drive. Because for so much of us, we want to really hopefully get that person over the edge and into that conversion stage. So everything is going to be a little bit different based on what your goals are, but you should kind of reverse engineer each one of those tests based on the goals you have and what insights you need to find to understand what's going to be the best sequence, cadence, and variables inside that email to have it perform the way you want it to. Okay, so nuts and bolts, best practices. How do you know what you're getting is actually accurate? So for these, you want to be testing, making sure your tests are testing one variable at a time. So you don't want to be testing multiple variables during each test, because you're not going to know which is actually driving the behavior you want to see, or which is actually creating that behavior in its own right. But hey, how do the headlines stack up on these? We can test those very easily, but we want to test the headline and the preview text, or headline then preview text, not the copy inside the content inside of it too. So if we're testing again headline and preview text and content inside in two different variations in two different versions, we're not going to have an accurate insight or understanding of it. So we need to again focus on one variable at a time and then cascade from there. So maybe again starting with headline and preview text, maybe moving to content inside the email, maybe moving to button CTAs from there, maybe moving to offer in from there. There's different layers and different rounds you can actually focus on, but only focusing on one variable at a time is going to make sure your data is accurate and relevant. So you're not just testing everything, and you know what's moving the needle, what's not. So if you want to pull that lever again, you can. One of the last things I always hear is like, how do we know these are going to be accurate or valid over time? Granted, again, these should be evolving as your marketing evolves. Like your marketing should always be evolving and improving. And again, as time goes on, the behaviors you want to drive may change. The actions you may want to drive may be different. So you want to make sure that you're going to be keeping this in the same line. If you change an offer inside of an automation, this will need to change. This will need to kind of restart. Some of those insights are going to carry over and transfer over, but you may need to, again, kind of like pull back and recollect some of this data. For campaigns, if this is kind of an evergreen topic, or like talking about an evergreen subject, or sometimes like campaigns may be more like meme focused. So if it's relevant to something contextual in society, and it kind of plays off a meme, then it's not going to be accurate 2 years from now. So understanding is this kind of a contextual topic? Am I testing something that's more contextual, more relevant at the current moment, or am I testing something that's more evergreen? So understanding, hey, this is something that again works contextually, but not in an evergreen format, and that's where, hey, you can try to understand what's working, what's not, inside of your automations. Using the insights you get from automations and testing that inside campaigns is really valuable, because once you understand, hey, what timing you want to be focusing on, that's really going to be kind of a lever that probably will be a more accurate view of what's going to perform best. Because if you have the timing right, and that timing, that again headline, preview text, and also other content inside the email is informed by what's working in your automations, it's going to give you a lot more ammunition to make that right decision. But naturally, like all of marketing, these should change, evolve, and you should be testing new things all the time. This is never done. It's not like, again, set in stone. This is a living and breathing component of your marketing that should be evolving over time. Hopefully got most of your questions answered. If there was any questions you still have, let us know. We always love talking shop on this. If you can't tell, like talking about marketing and email marketing, it's kind of our love language. So yeah, just reach out to us, let us know. We don't want to leave any of that tension hanging there. So love talking shop on this. Let us know, and it may even turn into another great blog post. So hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you around.